What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Super excited today to check out the Reate Exo, which may be one of the coolest knives in my collection, if not the coolest knife in my collection. And this particular version is an SMKW or Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive, which the exclusive part is this fat carbon inlay. I got the Arctic Storm, which is obviously this blue, really beautiful, especially when it catches the light just right. But it came in 4 different colors. I don't know the brand name of each of the fat carbons, but the colors were blue, purple, red, and yellow, as well as 2 different blade styles. So I got the spear point, but there was also a tanto version. There weren't 8 different variations. Each of the blade styles came with 2 different colors, so only 4 different variations available. But I've been wanting this knife ever since I kind of first heard about it. It was already sold out at that point. There was a version with a micarta inlay several months ago. Don't remember exactly when, but several months ago. And it was already sold out by the time I heard about it. So when they announced this one, I definitely wanted to check it out. I hesitated when I first added it to my cart because it's a little bit pricey, $310, which in itself isn't a deal breaker. Have plenty of knives in that price range. But this particular knife is a gravity knife, which is illegal where I live. Well, illegal to carry. I'm allowed to own it, but can't carry it outside of the house. So $310 for a knife that I can't actually carry seemed a little bit steep. It definitely stung, but I pulled the trigger and I'm really happy that I did because it's a very cool, just fun, unique, fidgety knife that, like I said, it might be the coolest knife in my collection. And so even though I can't carry it, I'm really glad I ended up picking it up because I really enjoy this knife. So, if you're not familiar with gravity knives, they work a little bit different than regular knives, obviously. This knife is going to deploy on the left side, just in the way I'm currently carrying it. Obviously, it could be different if you're holding it in a different hand. But for the sake of this explanation, it's going to deploy on the left side, but the pivot is on the right side. Typically, the pivot's going to be on the same side as the knife. And the reason it's different is the blade itself isn't going to pivot. This is actually an out-the-front blade. It's the frame itself that's pivoting. So you can see it kind of pivots the entire frame and the blade doesn't move. So the way it works is there's a collar on the end of the blade. I'm going to call it a collar. There might be a technical name for it, but a collar on the end of the blade that's held in place by this frame. But as soon as you pivot the frame, it's no longer being held in place and it's free to move freely along the track. And so when you do that, you tilt it forward, gravity will have it slide out, hence the name gravity knife, and then you can close the frame to lock it back into place. A little bit awkward at this angle, which obviously I'm trying to show the camera, but it's very natural when you're holding it in your standard grip. And so typically you'd hold it like you normally would. When you let go with your other fingers, it will just drop out and slide out. And so a very natural kind of movement. One thing to keep in mind, although it's extremely fidgety, is it's also very loud, which you're probably picking up on the camera. I apologize for headphone users, but it's pretty loud as far as fidgety knives go, which if you live with someone else or if you're married, definitely drives my wife crazy. It's louder than most of my knives. All my knives drive her crazy when I'm fidgeting with them too much, but this one in particular seems to more so than others, so something to keep in mind. The handle is titanium with obviously the fat carbon inlays, but really beautifully done, really nicely machined, and just looks really, really good overall. There's some kind of jimping along the bottom where your pointer and pinky meet. The handle, the brand Reate, is kind of stamped here pretty subtly on the show side. A little bit more kind of grooves here at the top, although that don't extend to the top portion. And then this nice kind of pattern section here, which just adds a little bit of grippiness and works really well actually. So although it looks nice and the machining is just really well done, kind of nice chamfered edges here, they're also very functional and it's very grippy, very comfortable in the hand. You can get a full 4-finger grip. It's a pretty large knife overall. It's a 5-inch handle, 8.75 inches overall, and that blade is 3.75 inches. It is Elmax steel. Again, I got the spear point or dagger style blade, but there is the tanto version as well, and that's going to be the same dimensions, 3.75 inches, 0.12 inches thick. The handle is also relatively thick. I don't know the exact dimensions, but I'll put it in the description. I'll measure it after I stop recording and put it in the description. But it's relatively thick, but very comfortable and not too thick. No pocket clip on this because, well, I guess because the frame pivots, and so if you were to put a pocket clip on this side, it would just kind of flop around in your pocket. And this knife does not lock. The frame obviously is what's holding it into place, and so when you have it in your hand, it's pretty secure. You're not gonna have to worry about it sliding open. But in your pocket, especially if it were clipped, it would just kind of bounce around and could potentially slide out, cutting a hole in your pocket, or worse, a hole in your leg. And so not really a knife that you want to put in your pocket, which is why it comes with this really nice slip case, black leather, has Reate branding on the front, belt loop on the back, and fits in there really snugly and securely. But the best part is that it's not wide enough for it to open, and it really doesn't slide around at all in there for it to open anyway. And so whether you put this in your pocket or on your belt, it's going to be very secure. So really nice that they included that so that you don't have to buy a sheath for it or a slip for it. And if you're able to legally carry it or are just going to carry it illegally, it's really nice to have. So glad they included that. I don't think the micarta version that came out previously included the slip case. It was sold separately but not included. And so again, a really nice addition of this exclusive version. Now, overall, just yeah, kind of a fun knife. It does have a little bit of play when it's open, and that's just by design. So there's a little bit of play. It's not too bad. It's functional and very secure. So even though there's some play, it's not going to close on you or fail. The lock's not going to fail. But again, that's really by design, because the way this works is the collar is what's holding it into place when it's open, and so that's really the only thing holding it. But it needs to be loose enough that when the frame is open, that it can slide freely back and forth. And if it were really snug in there where you didn't have a lot of play, it would also not slide very well. And so kind of by design that it has to have a little bit of play. But again, it's very secure. It's not gonna fail. Now, the billboarding, again, is pretty minimal. I think I already mentioned the Reate branding here, which is pretty subtle. On the non-show side of the blade, you have that Elmax steel. I don't love the placement of it, but at least it's on the non-show side. I wish it were just kind of along the edge of the frame instead of right here in the middle. It just kind of looks out of place, but again, not a minor gripe. And then lastly, the rest of it's hidden inside of the frame. And so if you open up that frame, you see Exoskeleton Design, which is obviously the company that designed this model. Reate manufactured it, but they designed it, hence the name Reate Exo. It also has the date of manufacturing, so in this case it's May of 2022, as well as a serial number. So I got serial number 005, which is a really, really good one. Don't plan on reselling that, but I think usually single-digit serial numbers are considered a little bit more valuable. So that's nice. I don't know how many there were overall of each model. I checked the listing, some Instagram posts, even the video where they announced it, and they don't really say how many there were. So if anyone knows, definitely leave it in the comments below, just out of curiosity. But if I had to guess, there were, in the announcement video, the yellow version that they had was serial number, I want to say 114 or 119, somewhere in there. And so if I had to guess, well, we know there's probably at least 150 just because that serial number was in the hundreds, but probably between 300 and 500 I think is pretty common, especially since there was 4 different versions, so 500 of each would be 2,000 total. So that seems like a pretty reasonable number. It sold out pretty quickly, so I don't think there were a ton of them, but I also don't think it was a super, super small number because it lasted several minutes. It's not like it was an instant sellout and you had to be a bot to get it or anything like that. So again, just guessing there. If you know for sure, put it in the comments below. But let me know what you think of this knife. For me, it's just a really fun novelty item. It's not something that, you know, I'm using as a EDC, obviously, because I can't carry it. But even then, it's just a fun knife that I like having these types of knives in my collections. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. As always, hope you have a great one. Take care.